What's up? Good evening, everybody. I'm trying out something new. I hope everybody's had an absolutely wonderful day. I hope everybody's had a blessed day. I actually have my phone on a stand, and I got this Bluetooth remote that I got from my wife. That's pretty cool. So I pressed this button and the video starts. So, I feel a little fancy right now. Yeah, but I promise you guys, I was gonna come with the second half of the assassination chapter. Of the chapter in regards to specifically his assassination. Now, let me reread the chapter to you. The name of the chapter: Death Row lines him up. FBI watch Radical Tupac's murder in Mobland. So, like I said, the video before was the first half of the specific chapter in regards to his assassination. Now I'm going to read the second half so we can get the second part of the information. So, here we go. I'm gonna read the last paragraph that I left you guys out on, just to kind of get you guys on track, just in case somebody's watching the second part of this video instead of watching the first part. But either way, you're gonna get some good information. Death Row made several changes to leave Tupac virtually unprotected for the first time. A day before Tyson's boxing match, Death Row fired one of Tupac's main bodyguards, Kevin Hackey. Now, mind you, Kevin Hackey later came out after Tupac was assassinated and Death Row was disbanded, that he was actually an FBI informant. Also, he was selling guns to a lot of the artists inside of Death Row Records while being an FBI informant. So we know what that's all about. The reasons given for this vary, but Hackey reportedly had been encouraging Tupac to move to Atlanta. I believe that Hackey, the FBI informant, had information that Tupac was going to lose his life. So he's probably telling him, hey, you need to get out of here. Suge Knight and Reggie Wright, now Reggie Wright is the head of the security, found out about this and fired Hackey. The following day, Tupac's other bodyguard, Frank Alexander, said that Reggie Wright told him he couldn't carry his gun because Death Row had forgotten to register it. Wright further gave Alexander a cell phone with a dead battery. Now, Death Row has been in Vegas way before Tupac's assassination, and they carry guns. So why is it different on this occasion that they can't carry their guns? So the last time they were in Vegas before Tupac's assassination, their gun permits, there was not an issue. It was not a problem. Now you're telling me that on fight night, one of the biggest night in history, in 1996, with the biggest rapper of all time, you're not gonna forget. You're gonna forget to register your weapon permit if you even needed it. Doesn't make sense. Hours before the Saturday night Tyson fight, Suge Knight held a party with much reported alcohol and weed at his Vegas mansion. Moonlighting Las Vegas cops attended this party with the moonlighting LA cops and Death Row. Now, mind you, I told you, from the top to the bottom, Death Row Records had police officers working. I'm talking about in the offices of Death Row. I'm talking about security for Death Row, just hanging out. There were police officers in and out of Death Row Records, and that's not supposed to happen. You can't have illegal or you can't have convicted felons working with police officers. It's just not a good look. But for some reason, these guys were allowed to do this, and top brass knew it. As much as they say, hey, we didn't know, you know. There's no way you can be no way you can be the LAPD and you not know that the majority of your black officers is working for known felons. It just doesn't work out like that. So they went to the MGM Grand Hotel, which housed the boxing arena, where they watched Tyson knock out his opponents in the first round. After the match, the Death Row group walked through MGM's huge lobby. Death Row employee Trayvon Lane and others influenced Tupac to join them in a conflict with a young guy that they saw standing in the lobby named Orlando Anderson. Now, mind you, Orlando Anderson was also there at the vibe party when Biggie was shot. He was there as well, which is extremely interesting. Also, if Trayvon Lane is such a huge gangbanger, why would you whisper in Tupac's ear to fight this guy when y'all supposed to be handling that? Tupac's the rapper, you the gangbanger. Why would you whisper in his ear? That doesn't make any sense. You supposed to handle that. You were supposed to whisper in somebody else's ear who is a gangbanger or who's there for security, who handles situations like that. Tupac was the rapper. He had no business. You had no business whispering in his ear about anything in regards to assaulting Orlando Anderson, which I believe was a patsy. He's a patsy. The death row employees convinced Tupac that Anderson had previously been with several Crips who attacked them, that Tupac may have drank or smoked at that party, as well as the fact that two Crips had once punched him for no reason, may have helped the death row group get Tupac to join in this beating. Tupac also was less than a year removed from his 10 months of imprisonment. Exactly. So this man is out on bond. So what did they whisper in his ear to get somebody that's out on bond, the biggest rapper of all time who's out on bond, to assault somebody? You gotta wonder. The group briefly attacked Anderson in the hotel lobby, then left, unstopped by the many guards and police who immediately came to the scene. Soon after the incident, the large death row entourage began to drive to Tupac's post-match benefit concert. Many disclosures about the drive support that it was a U.S. intelligence planned procession to Tupac's murder. Knight convinced Tupac to drive with him rather than taking the Hummer Tupac had originally planned to drive. A death row bodyguard also said that the security for the drive was unlike any he had previously done for death row. He said that two armed bodyguards would normally ride in the car with Knight and Tupac, but none rode with them on this occasion. Unarmed guard Alexander followed in the car behind Suge Knight and Tupac. Just fired bodyguard Kevin Hackey, who also worked for the FBI but had grown loyal to Tupac, claimed that he had FBI documents to prove that an FBI agent and an ATF agent were in the entourage of cars following Suge Knight and Tupac. Now that's huge. That is absolutely huge. This gives credence to the fact that Tupac was being followed every day of his death row venture. Okay, he raps about it in his music. If you listen to his music, he lets you know what's going on with him. He lets you know who's stalking him, who's watching him, who wants to kill him. He tells you that undercover agents are all around him and that he doesn't know who to trust, and that the FBI is following him daily. So in Mobland in Las Vegas that night, the ATF was in that entourage of cars that were following, that were heading to Club 662. There's documented paperwork that shows that the FBI and the ATF were in that motorcade. Now, mind you, I'm in the FBI. I'm an FBI agent and an ATF agent. I'm literally watching the biggest rap star of all time being shot, and I don't intervene. Nobody has said they intervened. I haven't read anywhere where the FBI, the ATF stopped their investigation and intervened and chased the Cadillac. I haven't read that anywhere. You haven't read it because it didn't happen. So what's the protocol for an ATF or FBI agent if you're investigating somebody and a crime takes place? What is the protocol? Do you stop your investigation and you intervene? That's what I will believe you're supposed to do. But they didn't do that in this instance. Also, in this book, it says that an FBI agent was also following Biggie the night he was assassinated. And they just so happened to stop watching Biggie before he was assassinated. So these are huge questions that need to be investigated. We need answers to these questions. Now, when we get the answer to these questions, I think it's going to paint a huge picture that a lot of these guys, their assassinations, their murders were orchestrated and many entities were involved, because think about who you have to have in your pocket to be able to shoot somebody and with witnesses watching, with people watching, right? With police presence. Sorry about that. With a huge police presence and a huge celebrity presence, right? And just sweep it up under the rug and nobody get convicted. how many people do you have to have in your pocket? Who has to be involved? So these are the questions that we have to ask each other, ask ourselves, right? Las Vegas Sun police reporter Kathy Scott, concerned about the FBI presence, she wrote that it had been widely printed that Tupac was under surveillance by the FBI at the time of his shooting. Many reports also placed Death Row's Los Angeles police officers, such as Richard McCulley, accompanying other Death Row security in Vegas. Tupac sat in the passenger seat as Knight, followed by Death Row entourage, stopped at a light by a crowded sidewalk in front of the Maxim Hotel just off of the Strip, Las Vegas Boulevard, with a Death Row car in front of them and behind them. So that means that they were basically being boxed in. If you watch the diagram of the shooting, all the cars that are boxing that BMW in, all of them belong to Death Row. All of them have Death Row employees in them. Now, behind Tupac was Frank Alexander and the Outlaws. Now, mind you, those guys pretty much didn't know what was going on. They were just following Tupac. But the other cars that were flanked on the side of the BMW, I believe those people knew exactly what was going on, because in no way, if you're securing the biggest rap star, you're trying to secure the biggest rap star of all time, you're not going to put cars in a way, you're not going to drive in a way or have the car set in a way to where if something happens, they can't move, they can't pull off, and they can't get to where they're safe. When those shots rang off, no cars moved until after the Cadillac hit the right and was gone. No cars moved. Suge Knight didn't even punch the gas. He sat there and allowed for whoever that was to put holes in the car, and then after the Cadillac hit the right, then the cars moved. So I don't care who you are, if you're being shot at, you're gonna punch the gas. That's just a survival mode, right? That's just an inclination in your mind. That's just an automatic thing. Hey, if I'm in the driver's seat and I hear bullets, if I hear shoot, I'm hitting the gas. Period. I don't care what's going on. I'm hitting the gas. But unfortunately, Suge Knight sat there and allowed for those bullets to penetrate the car. And for some reason, the gunman took extreme care, precise care, to not hit Suge Knight. So whoever was behind that gun, they knew what they were doing. Because for you to hit Tupac, which is extremely 2-3 times smaller than Suge Knight, and Suge Knight being 330, 400 pounds, and you not to hit them in a small compact car, you knew what you were doing. 9 times out of 10, whoever was shooting was a police officer. Also, after everything was said and done, and they had the meeting at Suge Knight's mansion, the first thing that Frank Alexander, the bodyguard of Tupac, said was that the shooter, whoever he was, he shot like a cop. Now, that is a direct quote from Frank Alexander's, that came out of his mouth. It's an interview here on YouTube. I might post a link when I have the time. But he said that the shooter shot like a cop. Even as he shot, the dark-skinned arm came out the window, he was shooting at the cop. And also the Cadillac was positioned at a certain angle where he was only going to hit Tupac, and he wasn't going to hit nobody else. So who or what type of person, if I'm going to allow somebody to shoot in my car and hit somebody sitting next to me and not me, what type of person would I allow to do that? And what type of credentials would that person have to have? A police officer. Okay. With the Death Row car in front of them and behind them, Death Row employee Trayvon Lane pulled up to the left of Suge Knight and Tupac, but a little ahead of them. A car full of women stopped just behind Lane's car. So this is the boxing that I'm mentioning. They're describing the way the BMW is being boxed in. So you have a group of ladies that was to their left, taking their attention off of the Cadillac that was pulling up to the right. Um, the women grabbed Tupac's attention by calling out to him. Just then, a white Cadillac stopped to Tupac's right, partly ahead of him, and one or two gunmen from that car fired over 13 rounds. 4 bullets hit Tupac, including 2 on the chest. Knight's forehead was reportedly cut, though most say that only a ricocheting bullet fragment or glass shard hit him. Reports also claim that no guards in the following cars fired at the assailants. The Cadillac fled from the scene and was never apprehended. Now, mind you, okay, there's a lot of talking points here. Mind you, we're talking about Las Vegas. Las Vegas is not huge, it's small. Fight night. Mike Tyson, Bruce Seldon. Everybody that speaks about this night tells you how packed it is, how hot it is, how you can't get anywhere when you're driving and when you're on the roads. How can you have so many witnesses, so little movement, yet this Cadillac was allowed to get away, no APB put out, and this Cadillac was allowed to ride off in the sunset. Nobody chased it. Nobody got a license plate. So these are the questions, these are the facts that we have to ponder over. Many people were involved in this. I mean, think about the suppression. Think about how much you would have to suppress in order to allow for this to not be solved. And how many people would have had to have something to do with it. Okay? You have women pulling up to the left to take your attention off of the assailants that's pulling up to the right. Okay? These women, and mind you, the women that were in the car that got Tupac's attention, they stayed in the same hotel Death Row Records employees were staying in. So that's another thing to ponder over. These women also, 1 or 2 of them was also seen in a lot of the Death Row Records music videos. Okay? So these women were not strangers. They weren't strangers to the situation, and they weren't strangers to the people involved. Okay, so we're going to assume that these women were involved and they had a role to play, because how can you easily be a part of the motorcade to go to 662 on a fight night? How did you get in that position to drive to be next to the BMW that Suge Knight and Tupac is riding in, when you have all these motorcade of cars and all this security, right? Who allowed you to get that close? And why? Right? Any other time, security is so tight that you wouldn't have been able to do that. So somebody put those women in that position to be at that spot at that time. That's the only reason. That's the only answer to that. Okay. Also, Suge Knight. Let's just keep it real. This dude is a chameleon. He says a lot. He lies a lot. His stories change a lot. If you're honest and open with what occurred and what happened, you wouldn't have to lie. This guy said that Tupac was coherent, that he was speaking with them all the way up into them going to the hospital, when everybody else says that Tupac was barely breathing and that he was unconscious. So how can Tupac tell you, hey man, you were the one shot in the head, you need the doctor, or you need to go to the hospital, or they need to be focusing on you more than focusing on me, when this man was unconscious? I mean, Frank Alexander had to pull him out the car. And he was unconscious. He couldn't breathe. Matter of fact, Frank Alexander said the last thing he heard Tupac said was, "I can't breathe." So how can Tupac not be able to breathe but he has enough breath to tell you that he loves you and that you need more attention than him when you didn't have a bullet in your head. But listen to Suge Knight, he says he had a bullet, caught a 4.5 bullet in his head. But when they collected the shells, it was it was a Glock 40. It was a Glock 40 automatic, not a 4.5. So Suge Knight had a hand in this. He did. He was a low man on the totem pole, like the book says. I don't think that he knew exactly what was going to happen, but I think that he knew something was going to happen to the effect of Tupac wasn't going to make it back home from Vegas. Like I said, Tupac had basically was making an exit, did make an exit. He called an audit on the finances. When Tupac called that audit, what they were thinking was that, man, we're selling guns, we're selling dope, we're doing all this illegal activity to attain finances. Why would we want the feds looking in on the books of Death Row Records? And if the feds would have done an actual proper investigation of Death Row Records, they would have found out that this is not an actual records company that's focusing on music. And the people that's involved in this record company, they would have found out that these people have government connections. They had CIA connections. They have connections to agencies that are investigating illegal activities, but they themselves are doing the illegal activities. So Death Row Records, I believe, was a front company. It set the atmosphere for gangster rap. I think it assisted in sending people to prison. I think it assisted in murdering a lot of black people, a lot of brothers. I think it was an entity. You had police officers working from the ins and the outs, and also these police officers that were working at Death Row Records were called covert agents. They were called troubleshooters. When Russell Poole went to his supervisor about all the police officers working at Death Row Records, his supervisor said, well, you can call those people troubleshooters or covert agents. So Death Row Records had goals. They had a lot of goals. And those goals were selling drugs, causing friction amongst the Crips and the Bloods, murder, and basically, and also eventually, Tupac's assassination and money laundering, right? All those things had ties to elite, to the government. So the people that even started Death Row Records sold dope for the government. Harry O, he sold dope for he assisted the CIA in pushing crack in the neighborhoods, in the hoods back in the 80s and the 90s. So for all intents and purposes, Harry O was a CIA agent. He was a government agent, and he put up the money, the seed money, for Death Row Records. So if I'm a government agent, right, and I made all this money from the government's dope I was selling, now I'm about to start my own record company. So if for all intents and purposes, that record company is also the government's, right? That record company also had a purpose for pushing things that the government wanted to push on the black community, right? It was an instrument of destruction. That's what Death Row Records was. It was pretty much an operation. It was a mind control, MK Ultra operation, but more focusing on, gangster rap and basically the destruction of the community, and also destroying the peace truce that was started in 1992. So those were the goals of Death Row Records. And it's all in this book. See, all this information is in this book. FBI War and Tupac Shakur Black Leaders. You gotta get it. You gotta get it. So that was the end of that chapter. I'm going to read. I'm gonna do another video on another chapter, which involves the cover-up of Tupac's assassination. Okay. So I hope everybody has a blessed day. I hope y'all enjoy the video. I saw the views on the other video and the views went up. I got like 12, 13, 14, 15. I think I got 15 views. So this one's probably going to get as much views. Man, look, tell somebody, tell a friend, like my stuff. They don't take no money. I'm not asking for no money. All I'm asking for is for you to subscribe, comment, and like. At least like it. If you're gonna view it, just hit that like button real quick, man. You know what I'm saying? Who you ashamed of? You know what I'm saying? It's all good. What you don't want people to know that you watch stuff like this? Yeah, man, it's all good. You know what I'm saying? Just like it, man. Just like it. You know, if I'm bringing you good information that you enjoy hearing, man, just like it, man. All you gotta do is like it. Tell a friend. Let me know what you like and what you don't like. Maybe I can bring some more topics, or discuss some more topics and investigate some more topics that you guys would like. But man, look, I'm gonna get up out of here. I hope everybody has a great night. Stay safe, stay blessed. All right, love. Oh, it didn't stop. I pressed this button and it didn't stop. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop it manually then.